Hello everybody and welcome back to my setup series, and today we are at Singapore, and as I already announced, this is going to be a very good setup. It works very well in the race and it's also stable in qualifying, which is nice for a change in terms of every other Singapore setup that I have tried to drive so far. So yeah, I think that most of these setups that are shown here are extremely aggressive and are not very nice to drive, and so I tried to make them a bit nicer. So yeah, we're gonna go right in. We're gonna go with aerodynamics. We have 811 wings. You might think, whoa, what is that? Singapore has such a long straight. Yeah, it doesn't actually matter. You need the 11 rear aero because Singapore is a very low grip track. um, you really notice it if you're not driving with 11 rear wing, that the track is extremely slippery and you can extremely feel it when it's raining. And it has a lot of slow corners, which is why we need a lot of front wing, so we can have the downforce and improve the grip. The time trial setups run with 9, but I went with 8 to have a little more leeway on the suspension settings. 50% on-throttle diff as usual. Off-throttle diff is often lower than what I used in my setup here. I'm at 54%. Most setups were at 51 to 52%. But that gave me some insane turn and oversteer, and it was very unpleasant to drive on old tires. So I increased that to 54 eventually. You could try 53 if you are very careful on turning, but I wouldn't recommend it personally. This just felt really nice. Next up, moving to the camber settings, we need a lot of rotation, but going full right, left in the camber felt way too aggressive. So I tried to find a mix, and this is the mix that I found. So we're still running a lot of front camber, minus 2.7, and we're still not running a lot of rear camber, minus 1.7. But it's enough to give us some good rotation without completely making the car super aggressive. No toe is extremely important because the tires heat up so much on this track, so you want to avoid using toe. Next up to the suspension settings. Now, with all the short bends and 90-degree rights, you might think that using high suspension would be good, but I actually think that it is kind of a trap because the track is so low grippy and you're gonna have to use so much curves. Um, you want the car to actually be stable over the curbs. So you could drive this setup with 1/8 suspension, but I found it to be quite punishing on mistakes. So I lowered it to 1/6 suspension, so I could really be aggressive out of the corners while still having my turn in and actually abuse the core or abuse the curbs, for example, at the start of the second sector. And then we have a very aggressive anti-roll bar setting because we actually have some very prolonged corners in Singapore, and it's important that you get the mid-corner rotation. You don't want to understeer into the wall, which is a problem that I found with most time trial setups, because they were using equal anti-roll bars, and that caused me to understeer mid-corner and head for the wall. So even though I had great initial turning, I couldn't make the corner, which sucked a lot. So I went for this kind of deal with 210 and 1/6 suspension. Ride-eye 2.3 as usual. You could go with 1.3 if you feel like the car is too understeery for you, but that's honestly pretty preference. And the rest is pretty much the same as usual, 150 and no tire pressures. You can try with 51% brake bias if you still feel like you're getting turn and oversteer, but I don't think it's really necessary. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I have not driven the proper time, so yeah. My best sectors are 7 first, 7 middle, and 0 last. So I can do a 32.4 or 32.5. And in terms of race strategy in Singapore, it's all about getting the mediums in the qualifying because you don't want to be used to soft. You can practice this, of course, and then try to pit under the hards. The undercut is very strong, but also very costly because the older hards are are a lot faster, a lot slower than fresher hards. So you have to try and balance that, and then there's of course the risk of a safety car and try to get through all the mess and not get damaged. But this I like this track a lot. I had a lot of fun driving this setup, and I hope you do too. So on to see you in the next one. We're gonna be in China, I think. Yeah, I have not done the setup on that yet, but we will see soon. Bye.